It's almost like you can't make this up. It's been in the headlines that not enough money, not near enough money, is being allocated to repair and replace the equipment that's in our fleet when you talk about the fire department. And then today, a ladder truck, ladder 2 from 7th and Wells, already a reserve, right?
That's correct.
20 years old, breaks down shortly after trying to respond to a call. I was shocked by that. This is a ladder truck 20 years old.
That's correct.
How bad is our equipment situation in your department?
It's exactly as dire as the data represents. We can have people who may want to frame this as hyperbole or fear mongering. The charts are available for anybody to see.
Yeah, I have one here.
All right, so you have one, but it is. Our fleet is in very, very rough shape. It sees extremely heavy service, and it's riding around on the same roads everybody else rides around on. Hard starts, hard stops, heavy service, all weather, day and night, and we were tongue in cheek, kind of talking about it before. Most people aren't driving around in a 21-year-old personal vehicle. Most people aren't, unless it's a collector's item. And I will just tell you that most people's vehicles are not being used unless they're on a road trip the vast majority of the time. It sits in a garage overnight. It sits in a parking structure while you're at work. It sits in a parking lot at the grocery store. It is to go to and from places. Very, very minimal use compared to what our fire apparatus and EMS equipment sees. So it's not... it's so far the other direction right now. It is what it is. And my intent is not to, sully anybody's good name or to cause crisis or stress for anybody. But my firefighters and my paramedics come first for me. And we're lucky nobody was hurt in today's incident.
You can see the image right now of this ladder truck if you text WATCH to 855-616-1620. This was just into our newsroom about 2 hours ago, and now you're here with us, Chief Lipski. You, I think, among all the local leaders in this city, have preached safety for the people that you oversee, whether it's on this matter, whether it's on putting out fires at the old Northridge Mall. You are forefront when it comes to this. As the fleet sits right now, are your firefighters safe on what you're rolling out there every single day in general?
We have an incredible repair shop and incredible mechanics who are doing everything they can to keep these rigs, to your point, safe for the people that are using them. Everything is not predictable. Every last eventuality is not preventable. However, right now I would say yes, with the ones that I actually have in service. But I have to do some math with you here. I normally have 8 ladder trucks serving the city of Milwaukee, down from 16 that we used to have. Those just got slashed in budgets of years gone by. So I have 8. But today, a wheel falls off the ladder truck, and I have 7. I don't have any more reserve ladder trucks, John. I don't have a single reserve ladder truck left. They're all either failing tests or themselves out of service or deployed in the field in place of other frontline apparatus. This may all seem very academic and elementary, except I have 7 ladder trucks now to cover 96 square miles. That is not acceptable by any measure. And so we are in real-time racing. I do believe we have possibly found a spare ladder truck in a suburban neighboring fire department. They're willing to share that with us. So I might be able to get that truck back up in just a few hours here.
All right. Excuse me, Chief. Want to change gears and ask you about another thing that's very important. It was discussed today. Mother's Day fire earlier this year. 5 people were killed. A tragic event. Sprinklers were not in that apartment building. And there's been a lot of consternation about how do we give municipalities and other entities the power to enact legislation that would require sprinklers and protect landlords and all of that stuff. You're at the forefront of a measure that would accomplish some of that. Can you tell us about the legislation that you discussed earlier today?
Yeah, it was a very, very nice surprise, and I was very happy to be included. We held the press conference at Engine 32 and Ladder 9 on 30th and Galena, which they were the first companies to the Mother's Day fire.
Yep.
So they saw it firsthand. So there's 3 pieces of legislation, and in short, they all deal with the concept of fire prevention or fire safety preventative measures to include scanning our environment. How many multifamily dwellings do we have, not just in Milwaukee, but in the state, that aren't sprinklered? If it was built before 1974, they didn't have to have sprinklers. And I can just assure you, if they didn't have to spend the money, they didn't. So they didn't add it out of goodwill.
Yep.
And so we need to find out exactly where those are so that we can change our response plans to those buildings. It also deals with trying to assign a pot of funding just to recognize, it's not going to solve the whole problem, right? But just to recognize and acknowledge for the property owners, the business owners who own these multifamily dwellings that, I can bang my drum and I will, and I'm never going to stop banging that drum. That doesn't make it cheap. It doesn't make it easy to retrofit a building with sprinklers. This begins to acknowledge that by creating a small pot of grant funding that property owners could use to retrofit their buildings. Now, across the entire state, of course, but it's a starting point. It's a starting point, and I think that's important. I was just absolutely thrilled that somebody heard all of this and put it all together. We've been banging this drum for a very long time. We got to move past it at some point and actually just start doing it.
I know it raised a lot of eyebrows when that fact that this rule was grandfathered in for some of these older buildings. And we see this from time to time where something was grandfathered in and then so many years later it comes to the forefront. Chief Lipski, as you've gone through some of the other rules that are on the books, maybe in terms of firefighting that maybe made sense in 1950 but don't now, are there others that you've got your eye on that in your eyes doesn't make sense?
So anything related to compelling a property owner to upgrade the standard to the modern code pre-1974. And there's, off the top of my head, I mean, there could be smaller little things like, egress pathway width, the width of a hallway, the number of stairwells required based on the height of a building. There could be a number of these things that come into play. And we can tell you, I mentioned this earlier today at the press conference. We're 150 years old as the Milwaukee Fire Department. 50 of those years, a third of our time, sprinklers have been required. But the previous 100 years, a lot of those buildings are still around. And we're 50 years into sprinklers being required. We are still arguing about this. But you know what I don't hear an argument about? I don't hear a lot of arguing as developers and management groups and property development outfits start pushing to reduce fire protection so that they can sell more square footage. That seems to get everybody's attention right away. Sprinklers, affordable housing. That's the tagline. And affordable housing is necessary. We have a dire need for affordable housing. I would rather have affordable housing that people can actually survive a small fire, not becoming a huge fire and trapping them. Survivable housing. That's what we need.
Doesn't matter how affordable it is if you can't survive it, that's for sure.
Yes.
And congratulations. Not many departments have a ladder truck that's now old enough to buy a drink. 21 years old. That just shouldn't be that way. Shouldn't be. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.